Okay, we're back.
After a bit of an absence.
Yes, we're back after a little bit of an absence. You are listening to Being Humanist. I feel awkward. I am Mike.
And I'm Keith.
And this is Being Humanist. So we're actually a little past, we're about a week behind. We recorded a show last week, and I was in kind of a bummer mood, and the decision was made because I was in a bummer mood because of a family situation that maybe we should hold off and try this again, and maybe have a secret show that just kind of pops up sometime. So, I guess we should apologize. I'm for that, but Keith was like, "Dude, what's your deal? You suck this week."
I said no such thing.
So anyway, as always, we're on iTunes, and I think most of our listeners are on iTunes. And actually, while you're on iTunes, please go to the actual comment section if you don't mind. Rate us, give us 5 stars or 1. I think actually 5 would be really awesome. But give us a rating and drop a comment on how you think the show is, because it actually helps us be noticed a little bit more when people leave good comments for us and whatnot. So there's that. You can always find us beinghumanist.podcast. I should say you should email us at beinghumanist.podcast@gmail.com. We're on facebook.com/beinghumanist.podcast. And Twitter. Follow us on Twitter. Being Humanist PC. And then we're on YouTube too. .com/beinghumanistpodcast. I think that's everything.
I believe that is it.
As many times as I've done this, you'd think I'd have this slightly figured out. What are we technically? Are we on 18 actually?
Yes,
we were doing 18 last week.
We're gonna call this show 18.
This is gonna be number 18. So yeah. We wanted to start off the show, I suppose, with a little bit of a conversation that I'm having currently with my brother-in-law. I'm not gonna name names. I don't think that he or most of my family. I don't think any of my family really knows that we do this. I just haven't really talked to him about it. But anyway, a few shows ago we did a story, or we talked about a story, and I think it was the show that Greg was on with us, where we talked about this gentleman who was talking about the folly of faith, I think was the article.
Right.
And the whole purpose of it was communicating about green energy, and he was a physicist, I believe, and his whole frustration was based on the fact that the right wing has basically taken America by storm and, taken its Christian dogma. Basically the conservative Christian movement has been taken over. Mm-hmm. And my stepdad, if you remember, had posted the story. I reshared it, and then my brother-in-law got a hold of it and thought that I was the one who posted it, and he basically called me out saying that he thought that the story was just bogus. It was just worthless crap.
Yeah.
Is what it amounted to. Do you remember reading it?
Is this is this the story that created such the big buzz, the debate on because when you posted on Facebook, you had people.
Actually, yes, you were debating with some.
Yeah, and I got
one of your
friends.
One of my Facebook friends. We just know each other.
Acquaintance.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, you remember the story.
Totally. Yeah.
He was talking about thorium nuclear reactors. Thorium reactors, I should say. Thorium.
Yeah.
And it just kind of went on. It was really just talking about how scientists know that they can't work with religious people, and it's like scientists know that his point of view was scientists know that they can't work together.
Uh-huh.
So he right after this conversation, he sent me a message. It was a couple Bible verses, and I figured at this point, okay, it's on. Because he wanted to he wanted to send me some stuff because we had a conversation, and since it was on, I decided it's like, well, I'm going to write my own little message back to him. So I spent some time. I typed it out on a Word document and told him my stance, which is, 18 shows into this, I think pretty much everybody knows what my stance is.
Uh-huh.
So I shared that, and it was truth. I was like, hey, this is where I am. And then he wrote back, and you read this.
Right.
And he attacked, I don't want to say attacked, he went after every point by point, and decided that he would go after everything and tell me his point of view.
Right.
I don't know, what were your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, that's basically what he did, and then he went point by point at everything that you said. Sometimes it basically he seemed to be making excuses, I thought, but also there was an interesting thing that happened in that he did not answer one of the questions that you asked him in the first, which is a recurring theme amongst religious people.
Yes, very recurring thing. Keith and I both tend to ask this one particular question because it's just one of those things, and it's one of those things that kind of got you toward your atheism.
Yes.
Which is, does it matter where you're born? When you think about this, your place of birth, your parents, where you're at, basically kind of tends to put you in the religion that you're going to be in.
Right, it's totally cultural.
Yeah. If you're born in the States, you're most likely going to be some denomination of Christian.
Right.
If you're born in Morocco, most likely is it Morocco? Maybe that's a bad choice.
Let's say Yemen.
Yemen.
You'd be a Muslim.
Yemen. If you were born in Yemen, you would be a Muslim.
Yeah.
If you were born in Saudi Arabia, you would be a Muslim. If you were born in Indonesia, chances are you would actually be a Muslim. There's
Right.
a high population of Muslims in Indonesia. Born in China, there's a good possibility you would be Buddhist or Confucianism. Is that what it would be called? Those are the basic principles behind what you are. And then the time frame. If you were born in the Greek era of the, folklore, the myths of the Greek gods.
Believe in the gods of Mount Olympus. Zeus, Athena.
Right.
I mean,
and so on and so on. I mean, if you were Mayan or Aztec or, Native American, I mean, you had gods for everything, just the same as India, the Hindu.
Right.
They have millions of gods. So I ask these questions, and typically it kind of shuts people up, is what I've noticed. Every time I bring this up on Facebook, it gets quiet.
Totally.
And then somebody else will chime in, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, because this happened before. And in this particular case, he didn't answer it. And instead of answering it specifically, he decided to go into, well, I am a Christian, and there's so much to learn about being a Christian that I'm just focusing on the Christian aspect. So I can't really focus on all those other religions, is what his answer was.
Yeah, and that's funny because the point is not to focus on what the other religions do. The point is to focus on why you are the religion that you are. And is it because you literally went out and studied all of the other religions and chose that religion, or is it just a comfortable religion for you to choose because that's what everyone here is? It has nothing to do with learning about the other religions. It's contemplating why it is that you are part of this religion and why you are surrounded with other people that are part of this religion. It's a simple thing to think about. People are just afraid to, I think.
In that case, he was born here.
Uh-huh.
His parents were Christian. His family were Christian. And you were indoctrinated, if you will, from an early age, and you're Christian. Now, although he said that he struggled with his faith, and over the last decade, he's jumped in and out of it and trying to decide whether or not he should or shouldn't be. He's flirted with the idea of agnosticism and whatnot.
Yeah.
But, the other thing that got me was the way he started out with the argument, which was defining what faith was to him, which is the other thing.
constantly doing that.
So he has to define what faith is. Then he goes on and talks about why he doesn't answer my question about where you're born. And later on, I think he cites an article from the Blaze talking about the mix of, whether or not science and religion can actually be together, which was part of the reason why this whole thing happened in the first place, whether they could work together. Let's see, what else? I explained to him that there are missionary work going on in Uganda, where in Uganda and Africa, they're persecuting gays. The missionaries who are going out there are doing this work, and they're passing laws in the Ugandan government which allows them to incriminate or even kill those who are gay. This is happening right now, and of course he wasn't happy about that thought. He's more of a liberal Christian, and he feels like people should be allowed to be who they are. That's how he feels. And so he was astounded by that. And further on, I don't remember everything else that happened, but he wrote basically this very long response to mine, which was just kind of like a page, I think, a Word document. And then since he wrote that, I had 2 weeks to sit and stew because I was so busy, I didn't have a chance to reply to him. So last weekend I replied a really long and I told him immediately that I'm kind of tired of people defining faith. It's like, I understand. I know what your faith is. Why do you feel like you have to define what your faith is?
Right.
That's like, why does that happen? Do you know why people have to define their faith?
I think it is sort of a defense mechanism type reaction. Like, they're on the when someone else, whether a person confronts them or not about their non-belief, just knowing that someone else is a non-believer sometimes, I think, puts a believer on the defense. Not every single believer, but I've noticed that. Yeah. But I think one of the first things, I think it's known amongst that community that faith is looked at by us as its actual definition, which is believing in things without evidence. And
they have to add to it.
Right, they have to, oh no, it's just so much more than that. Well, really, at its basis level, it's not. Everything else, you're adding extra things to this word to make it seem bigger and more mystical and more, and it's kind of like what we talked about, those deepities.
Yeah,
When they're redefining faith, they're trying to bolster it into some sort of mystical thing that we just don't understand unless we felt it ourselves. And I call bullshit on that because I come from that. And I know your brain can you can talk yourself into believing anything.
Right. I think that goes further into, well, it's my feeling. I have my own personal relationship with God. And then it goes to, well, what about these other people? They have their own personal relationship with God, and they believe their religion just as much as you do.
Silence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is truly amazing to me, and it's even more so amazing when people of different faiths get together and have a conversation, if they have a conversation about their faith. When they do, though, it is amazing to me that people will look at it. For instance, there's a person I know, a Hindu, and she is dating a Christian. And I know that he is devout in his faith and he goes to church all the time. She goes with him because she wants to learn about it. How does that happen to the point that, I wonder how those relationships work when one person technically, if they are a true Hindu, they believe in millions of gods, and then one believes in just one. I wonder how that works.
True.
How does that not cancel each other out and say, I wonder why we both have these different beliefs. Why don't they explore that a little bit more?
Sure, yeah. I almost kind of wonder how the Christian guy deals with it, because if he's a total Christian, he completely believes in this place called hell, and he probably believes that his wife will go there because she's worshiping she's practicing a false religion, which happens.
They're not married yet. by the way.
Well, a false
dating.
religion which happens to be much older than his religion. But,
Right.
Sorry, go ahead.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, it's just interesting to look at it. I only bring her up as a point of reference. Very wonderful person. But anyway. So, yes, I responded, and I threw in... Oh, man, you read it.
Yeah.
I really, I don't know. You think I did a pretty good job of explaining everything.
Yeah, I thought you did a fantastic job. I actually, you always do a really good job when you write about these things, but I felt like this one, you really put something into this one. I think it feels like that you searched the deepest reaches of your mind and totally poured out. I mean, it was so logical. The questions you asked were perfect. I mean, you would make Peter Boghossian proud.
Oh, side note.
Oh, yeah.
I was on Facebook the other day and happened to notice that you were friends with Peter Boghossian.
Yes.
And I thought, holy shit, Keith's friends with Peter Boghossian. I thought, I wonder if I could be friends with Peter Boghossian. So I clicked add friend.
Mm-hmm.
And the next thing I know, he's added me as a friend. And I took a picture of it on my phone and I sent it to you. I said, look, I'm friends with Peter now. And then I thought, I wonder if I could send him a message. So I messaged him on Facebook and he replied.
Nice.
I was like, holy shit, yes.
The guy's pretty personable. I don't think it would be impossible for us to
possibly get him on.
Yeah, get him on the show. I mean, he went on Cognitive Dissonance, Thank God I'm Atheist. I mean, these shows are, they're bigger podcasts than ours, but they're still just podcasts. So
Yeah.
I think he's pretty down. I think he's just really interested in no matter what the medium he wants people to think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's worth a shot. Try to get the guy on the show. So yeah, we should try to do that.
I agree. And I think about what he does. And his whole deal is about using reason and whatnot. I think I was already doing that.
Right.
I've been doing that. I've been doing what he wrote about in his book. Even to the point where, like I said, when I asked my brother-in-law that question about where you're born, your parents' faith, and he avoided it. And in fact, he went into this long drawn-out bit about how my family was... 4 generations removed, God can curse your family like up to 4 generations removed if somebody is a bad person, and they will continue the next generation,
That's absurd.
Next generation.
I've heard that before. That's absurd.
Will deal with these problems, and he was basically saying that I should turn that off.
Yeah, it's all right.
He was basically saying, though, that my stepfather was my sister's saving grace and our saving grace.
Uh-huh.
That he came in and broke a cycle and brought us up differently than the rest of the family.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why maybe my generation with my sister and my brothers are better and we're doing okay.
Huh.
And rather than answer any of those questions, because I kind of felt like, dude, I can't believe you're almost, in a sense, calling my family out. I don't know what I think about this. Rather than doing that, I said, every argument you put forth on this question is null and void until you answer the question about where you're born and whether your parents' religion becomes your religion.
Yeah.
So
he's flat out ignoring it. Like when I had the conversation with my sister, I asked her the question and she actually answered it, but her answer didn't make sense. Her answer was, who's to say they're wrong? And I challenge her to think about that. Like, if you're admitting that they could be right, you're essentially admitting that you could be wrong. Think about that for a second. But back to your conversation. One of my favorite things was that he had pointed out, he invited you to his church. And
yes.
And he had pointed out that maybe you needed this community and things, assuming that you had no kind of community to go to.
Right.
And I thought that was just that it was pretty kind of a rude assumption that just because you're a non-believer, you don't have what he has in terms of support from a community kind of thing.
He challenged me to go to church for 90 days with him.
Uh-huh.
And whether that was at his church or him coming up to my town and going to church somewhere around where I live, he challenged me regardless to go to church for 90 days and not feel the same thing he feels with the community and those who would help you whether they knew you or not, blah, blah, blah. Like, he was challenging me that basically I would find something amazing there.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote, well, I don't know, you want to go ahead and tell him what I said?
Well, think about it. Before I can do that, but before you get into that, isn't he he's not really bolstering the idea of the Christian religion. He's bolstering the idea of people coming together and doing things for each other. Yeah, that's not a he's assuming that it's the result of the religion itself. But this wonderful community that he speaks of has all been achieved by human work.
Right.
It has nothing to do. Okay. Anyway, but yeah, here I actually have your response here. Going to church and feeling community. This one might be my favorite of all your points. You are correct. I most likely will not take you up on your offer. Not because I don't enjoy spending time with you, but because I most certainly do. You are a wonderful husband and father to Hey! This is mostly because I went to church as a child and a young adult with my ex-girlfriend, and never once did I ever care for it. I was always put down and judged for music I listened to, and honestly, people always seem, quite frankly, brainwashed into pretending to know something they do not know.
Thank you, Peter.
One thing I was always jealous of was the community that you had with the church. However, this is changing. I'm involved with a secular student alliance and should we say our hometown?
It's just a local freethinker group.
The local freethinker group. Both of these groups are full of skeptics and meet regularly. We talk about things that bother us and help each other out in times of need. This is a recent thing, though. It hasn't always been there. The reason is that no one wanted to speak up about being atheist for fear of being ostracized in their community. To be honest, I could lose businesses. Should I say this?
I could just lose business as
a man who has a profession. I might not get hired in other places because I'm an atheist. Now, skeptics are feeling more comfortable with being honest about who they are. More than anything, we are trying to let people know we are not evil heathen Satan worshippers who eat babies. Atheists are the least trusted group of people in the States, behind even Muslims in post 9/11 times. To get to the point, I have found community, and more than anything, I don't need God to be good. What is really scary is the amount of people that say you need God to be good or you need God for morals. If this is the case, imagine how I feel if I convince people there is no God. Will more people be stealing and raping women and children? Okay, seriously, do you really think you need God to be good? Excellent, Mike. Excellent.
It's interesting to listen to somebody else read my comment. And then his response was basically, I'm very glad that you don't eat babies. This is really good. I'll get to this soon.
Right.
So, 2 weeks passed before I got a chance to reply him with that. So we'll see what he comes back with me.
Yeah, so it's good. I mean, these conversations are important. I think I'm glad that you're having one. My conversation with my sister hasn't advanced past where it was before, but she's going through some stuff, so I'll cut her some slack on that right now. She thinks that she needs that to get her through her troubles, but maybe right now is not the best time for me to put a crack in her faith. I don't know, but
I think when you think about it and what religion is and what it does for you, it's like a placebo.
Yeah.
Or
yeah, totally.
I mean, you think you're talking to somebody, but in all reality, you are creating your future.
Right.
You are behind everything that you do, which, I mean, you hear people talking about, thank God that I got my job. Thank God I got my car. Thank God for this. Thank God my house is here. Thank God my kids are safe or whatever. It's always the same thing. I mean, you worked hard to get where you are.
Yeah.
You did this.
Exactly. And like you're talking about, thank God I got that job. Well, why are you not thanking yourself for filling out the application, preparing for your interview, doing well in your interview, why are you not patting yourself on the back for that? Give yourself some credit. People do not give themselves enough credit. What I think that especially the Christian religion does, and it does it more than any other religion in the world, and I am sure of this, is it creates a perception in people that they are not worthy of life, basically.
Yeah.
That they are... The entire doctrine of Christianity tells you that you are born broken. You are born a sinner, you are born evil, and you cannot become the true person that you are meant to be unless you accept this message.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, you're going to be paying the price.
Yeah.
That is a very broad way of explaining Christianity, but it is essentially what it is. I mean, to me, that's a sad reality.
I'd be very interested to know. I don't know if we actually have Christian listeners on the show. Maybe, maybe not. But I'd be very interested to hear what they have to say about anything, this conversation / anything before this.
Yep.
It's always interesting. I mean, it is what it is, I guess. I'll continue my conversation. He's open for it, which is the really cool part. I mean, there's no yelling or anything. It's just two people having a conversation about a God or no God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you think about it. So, anyway, that's that story. Yeah. I suppose we can move on.
Yeah. I mean, hell, we could have talked about that the rest of the show, and people probably would have enjoyed it. But I definitely wish you good luck with that, because I mean, you obviously, by him telling you, "Wow, what you wrote was really good," there's a spark of thought going on in his head there. I mean, he's going to have to think about these things. He's good for you. I mean, you're forcing him to look at these things hopefully in an unbiased way.
It is interesting because my sister was just baptized recently. I don't know if he is baptized or not, but I know that my sister kind of fell back into, I mean, she's battled with it as well, but she fell back into God's hands, if you will, because I think she was more so worried that she wanted to make sure that her kids were going to be safe, which, it's interesting how she looks at things, but
I don't know. I guess coming from that world, I get what she's saying.
And she knows. I mean, my other two brothers, at least I'm pretty positive, feel the same way that I do. They haven't done the research I think that I've done. Maybe my youngest brother has. My middle brother, he feels the same way I do, but I tend to be. I feel like I tend to be teaching him more than anything. I don't informing him of different things that he didn't know already.
They might be apathetic atheists,
right.
more
pretty much.
Just don't really give a crap.
I have cousins that are the same way, and they question a whole lot of different things. So I don't know. I have an interesting family. It's interesting to have so many atheists within a family.
Yeah, I am the only atheist I know of in my family.
Yeah.
I have a cousin who lives out in Hawaii that I've suspected might be. But other than that, I'm certain that no one is. But okay.
There's a half hour of our show.
Hey, that's all right. It was a good conversation.
And actually, I should point out, we're hoping next week, since we're moving on to the next topic, which is basically the same thing, I have another buddy. I don't know if he's going to use his name or not, but he'll probably be on our show next week.
Via Google Plus Hangouts.
Yeah, via Google Plus Hangouts. He's very excited. He is a liberal Christian. We were college buddies together, and very, very intelligent guy. He posted a comment today about the cosmos. He's a fan of it, but he feels basically, I don't know, what would you say? How does he feel about it? I mean, it's kind of the same. I don't know if it's the same way that the creationists are dealing with it, but
he's a fan of the show. He likes the content. He's a Christian that accepts science, the findings of science. He doesn't deny it, but he feels like the show is going out of its way to throw in as many anti-religious jabs as possible. And he might have a little bit of a point. There are some things that are said in the show that seem to be directed towards the religious in a sense that you people don't think kind of thing, and he also feels like that the show is setting up a precedent that states that religion and science cannot coexist, and which in a sense I don't think they're compatible. I think you can be religious and can still accept science, because and that's something that he was bringing up. I read the comment. He was, but I think what Neil deGrasse Tyson is going for there, as I told you, is more. He's directing this towards the people that have totally closed their minds off to scientific discovery. He's not. I don't think he's addressing guys like your friend. I think he's like, okay, we may as well start talking about the next story here. Now, the whole thing with the cosmos and the creationists demanding time on the show has led to several different stories, and there was kind of a tongue-in-cheek Huffington Post article that says, "Oh, they're
pretty good at doing."
Yeah. Oh, they got their time on the show, but it's not how they expected it. Basically, on the last episode of Cosmos, Dr. Tyson explained how the speed of light works, and he explained that if the universe is only 6,500 years old, as a lot of creationists like to say, I mean, somewhere in that range, 6,000 to 10,000 is their thing. But he showed that just the tiny little circle, the area that we could possibly see if the world was only 6,500 years old. Everything else beyond that would be black.
Right.
And just darkness. There would be nothing.
And what he did a really good job with was actually showing the Milky Way, right?
Yes.
Our galaxy. And he was showing our little spot in the galaxy, because we're toward the outside of the galaxy in an arm. And he was showing, basically, they highlighted a circle radius around us at 6.5 million light years.
6,500 light years.
I'm sorry, yeah. Around us, which was only like a 16th or so of what you could see of the Milky Way.
Of what we've even observed. I mean, his actual quote here on that is, if the universe were only 6,500 years old, how could we see the light from anything more distant than the Crab Nebula?
Which we can see.
Yeah. And then he says we couldn't. There wouldn't have been enough time for the light to get to Earth from anywhere farther than 6,500 light years in any direction. That's just enough time for light to travel a tiny portion of our Milky Way galaxy. So, I'm sorry guys, but the theory of relativity, that aspect of it, the speed of light, this is pretty much settled science. You've just got to accept it. You've got to accept that the universe is not 6,500 years old.
Of course.
And I don't think your friend believes that either.
No.
I just think that he's taking... I can understand how he could take it personally.
Well, it's interesting, because I think you have a situation where you may understand this stuff, but you're battling your faith and trying to make it fit you, and when you're trying to make it fit you, you're trying to come up with arguments that just don't make sense.
I think one thing that we're going to have to do when we talk to him is, I would like to have, if he's up for it, and if you're up for it, I would like him to kind of define the way he views Christianity and how he practices Christianity. Does he think the Bible, Adam and Eve are literal people? Does he think... I'd like to get those things out of him first before we go into this conversation, so we can both have a frame of reference to...
Right.
To speak.
Which is always interesting, because if
Yeah.
you do or don't believe that, then if you don't believe that is real, then how do you believe the rest of it?
Exactly. Yeah. And because, I mean...
That is the question we'd really like to know.
Right, because there are sections of the New Testament, and there's a verse in Romans that talks about how Jesus died for the sins of Adam, basically. And assuming that Adam was a literal being. And Jesus himself has talked about Adam and Eve. And Jesus clearly believed through what he said in the Bible, he clearly believed in that the events in the Old Testament had happened. Mm-hmm. He clearly did not strike down the Old Testament based on Matthew 5:17 and 18 that I've said so many times, too many times probably. But that's why I don't understand that if you don't believe that Adam and Eve were literal people, if you if you accept evolution, are you saying that the first people that had the cognitive ability is kind of our Adam and Eve? I don't know I'm that's what I'd like to know from a guy like this that you say is more of a moderate to liberal type Christian. So it'll be interesting to speak with the guy. I'm looking forward to it.
I am too.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to him for a while anyway.
And we'll be respectable. I'm not gonna shit on his beliefs like I.
He's excited.
Yeah.
I sent him the link and everything so he can get acquainted with what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really looking forward to this one. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it will be.
It'll be tough.
It will. I mean, it was tough with James. James is a relatively intelligent guy too. I mean,
I had a fun conversation with James last weekend. We were eating at the House of Pancakes, and or IHOP, better known as. But,
International House of Pancakes.
Yeah, we got into this conversation because we always do. It just always happens.
Sure, yeah.
My wife and I are sitting there with James, and all of a sudden we get into faith and the definition of faith. And
does he try to alter it?
Oh man, did we have a conversation? And it starts going and going, and then all of a sudden the wife had to put an end to it. She's like, "Okay, stop, guys," because we were kind of getting heated a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a little bit. He's like, "You're changing the definition." I was like, "How?" It's because I was explaining to him the idea of a light bulb turning on, or a chair staying up when you sit on it, and he was just like, "No, that's not the way it works." I was like, "Yeah, but it's not that you have faith that it's gonna sit there or stay there. It's that you, through many times of seeing it and observing it,
inductive reasoning."
Yeah, and he just didn't like that.
Yeah, I mean it's reasonable expectations, otherwise known as an inductive reasoning. Like you have formed in your brain a model of what a light bulb is supposed to do. You've witnessed the light bulb do this over and over and over. You know that there's a possibility that the light bulb will not turn on or will burn out at the moment you flick the switch, but you expect that most of the time the light bulb will turn on.
Right.
Same with the idea with the chair. People like to use the chair. Most of the time you've sat in a chair, it is held up. You don't expect that it's going to break when you sit into it. It may happen. It's expectations. That is not faith. That is a complete perversion of the definition of the word faith. And
I love that he continues to go after the fact that he feels that you have to have more faith to not believe in God. That's
a deepity. that is one of the most nonsensical things and it's used so often. It's such a cliche. It's tell me how. When I demand evidence to believe something, tell me how that takes faith.
You know why I think that he feels that way is because that means that if I don't believe and there's a hell and I'm going there, I must have a lot of faith that there really isn't a hell, otherwise I'd believe.
I don't have faith.
It kind of goes into Pascal's wager, if you will. Yeah. Because it's like, I'd rather believe even if there isn't, so I don't burn in hell.
Sure.
But I mean, maybe is that the root of it? You think?
I don't know. It might be, but wouldn't you say that the better way to describe that is, it's not that we have faith that there's no hell. It's just that there has never once in the history of mankind been one single solitary piece of evidence that has emerged that would support the idea of a hell. So why would I waste my time thinking about this place that probably doesn't exist? Why would I rack my brain being afraid to go to this place that there is absolutely no way of telling exists or not? Why would I rack my brain just because some idiot somewhere back in ancient whatever decided that he was going to make up this place that'll scare the shit out of everybody, so they'll follow this rule? And you know what? The whole religion and control thing, just it's amazing how that works, because you'll see that, especially when the Roman Empire decided that they were going to convert, when it kind of started with Constantine, he made it a little more acceptable to be a Christian. He converted on his deathbed. Then you've got the next person I believe it was Theodosius, who actually eventually made Christianity the official religion of the Roman Empire. Next thing you know, you've got these Romans that are basically pushing Christianity on everyone, and then you're reading about later on these other Christian countries that are invading these areas, and or either to bring these communities together, saying, well, here's the deal, if you convert to Christianity, then we can intermarry and we can build a better community.
Yeah.
Like the Franks were converted to Christianity in that kind of fashion. And it's not remarkable how it spread. It's not remarkable at all how it spread. So that when just one single guy that's in power is converted in a time like that in imperial Rome,
right,
it's not remarkable at all that it spread so rapidly.
Yeah. So
that's way off topic.
Well, that kind of goes back into my conversation with my brother-in-law too. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I guess to get back to it, I mean, honestly, we're going to keep talking about Cosmos. I don't think we're going to ever avoid it because we've got like another 10 shows, I think.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about it. We might not talk about it as extensively sometimes, but
the next show we will, because that's what my buddy's whole argument was.
Oh, yeah, so maybe we should keep it short about Cosmos in this episode.
Regardless, they just did a really good job of showing what we couldn't see if the world was only 6,500 years old, just through a visual of how much we would actually see or have seen, and the fact that we have seen all that we have seen.
Right.
Was that?
That's pretty much the gist of it.
How many times can I say seen?
As long as you don't say it in the context of "I seen it." That's a pet peeve of mine.
I'm sorry if any of our listeners do that.
Well, I'm not sorry. You need to stop doing it and speak proper English.
I saw it. I saw it.
So, yeah, I mean, if you're good, we can move on from that. I think our obligatory Cosmos commentary, which kind of we're all over the place today. I like it when we trail off like this.
It probably makes it more interesting.
Yeah, some of my favorite shows to go back and listen to are the ones that we don't stay on topic. Seriously,
well, I think the next story is really fun, and we have multimedia to go with this.
Oh dear.
Maybe we should just go with the multimedia first.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to give the audience an idea of what we are referring to. So.
And I'm going to go ahead and apologize now because this video is part of a playlist. So if I don't stop it in time, you'll hear the beginning of the next video.
Yeah.
But forget that for now. Enjoy.
There were desks in here for each representative. But on Sundays, this became the largest non-denominational Christian church in Washington, D.C. area. We had non-denominational speakers. People were selected from different faiths of Christianity to come in here and preach. People came in here and prayed. They sang hymns. They worshiped God.
Correct.
It was part of our history. Now, after the fire in 1814, there was a brief period where it was being repaired, but after the repair works, then church services resumed. Now, I had asked the Congressional Research Service to do an objective, nonpartisan
this music's touching my
review
heart.
Of our history and tell me if the things that I had read and learned were backed up in their opinion. And when I got the report back, I glanced down, and the first thing I saw was something like Madison didn't do this. And I thought Madison did come to church in here. But as I read the report, it talked about how President Thomas Jefferson, we're talking about the guy who coined the phrase separation of church and state, who said there should be a wall of separation between church and state. But it was to be a one-way wall where the state would not dictate to the church, but the church would certainly play a role in the state. And so President Thomas Jefferson had a little different idea of what separation of church and state meant when he used it in his letter to the Danbury Baptist, because President Thomas Jefferson came to church, a Christian worship service right here in Statuary Hall, as we call it now. So that's a little different idea than a lot of people have about separation of church and state now, including some of our esteemed Supreme Court, who are not quite as familiar with our history as they probably should be. God has blessed this nation greater than any nation in the history of the world, I would submit, even than Solomon's Israel. God's answered our prayers. This is no time to stop praying. This is a time to continue to beseech God to bless this nation. And if we seek Him, we'll find Him. If we ask, it'll be answered. God bless you. I'm Louis Gohmert.
So matter of fact. That's one of our. One of our politicians. That's kind of funny because I know Thomas Jefferson here said the legitimate powers of government extend to such acts only as are injurious to others, but it does me no injury for my neighbor to say that there are 20 gods or no God. It neither picks my pocket nor breaks my leg. Just wanted to throw that out there, that Jefferson had no problem with people that didn't believe in gods, and there's speculation that maybe he didn't, but you can only speculate.
This is true. We can't just go ask him.
Yep.
One-way wall, man.
One-way wall, yeah.
Basically, he was saying that government can't reach in and tell churches what to do, but churches can reach in and tell government what to do.
That's funny. That is funny. That's really weird, considering the bevy of court cases that have gone the opposite way of what Mr. Gohmert has just described.
But
over the
if
years.
you remember, he was saying that many of the Supreme Court justices probably don't know the information that they need to know.
Oh, okay. So, but Louis got it for him.
Louis got it.
He just gave him that information.
I think. Do you think he's calling out some atheist Supreme Court members?
He may be, because there's one of them, I can't remember his name. Is it Kennedy? Justice Kennedy that is suspected of being an atheist?
There's not any. At this point, it has not been confirmed or whatnot, but there is possibility there that a reasonable man has found reason.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Well, really what this is here is just your typical Christian revisionist history.
Let's change history to make it match how I feel today.
Yeah. And the bad part about it is there's a certain demographic that eats up what he says and takes it as truth. I mean,
the very demographic who oh goodness, was his name, who was the Nixon's the guy with Nixon who was talking about as a Republican, the people he feared more than anything were the conservative right indoctrinated who want to bring religion into the government. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Was it Kissinger?
Yeah, Henry Kissinger.
Yeah,
he's the one that said that. And what he was afraid of is what's happened, and I think it started with Reagan.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely did. Yeah, we've got to get guys like this out of office. There's got to be. I mean, it's going to be hard. He's from Texas, so Texas is probably going to keep churning out asshats like him and throwing him in office. But
which is why we need to get Wendy Davis elected.
Heck yeah.
Of course, here in Indiana, how much say do we really have in that?
But it bothers me that there's an actual senator saying these things. Or, I don't know if he's a senator, but whatever his fucking job is.
He represents us in some fashion.
Yeah, and it should bother everyone that a guy's going out there and just basically throwing out false history. Like, yeah, I'm sure this church that he's talking about did exist, and yeah, I'm sure there were plenty of presidents and other politicians of that time that did attend that church sometimes. That doesn't mean that the Christian religion has dictated the United States policy.
Right.
And as we diversify, it will not dictate our policy, because it cannot dictate our policy. We can't become a nation that imposes a certain ideology on the entire populace. And we have to make sure that that doesn't happen. And a lot of that starts with the younger generation getting their asses out and voting. And I'm not talking just in the big election. I'm talking midterm. I'm talking local elections.
Oh, yeah.
Every single level of government matters.
Our state senate, there's some people in the Indianapolis area. There's one person in particular in Carmel who represents in Carmel. I wish I could think of his name off the top of my head, but I can't. He just went on a Twitter rampage all about equal rights for gay marriage and whatnot. His brother is gay, and he's going on this big rant. I mean, this is somebody that was elected to office. It really, I mean, since you brought it up, I mean, we really need to focus, pay attention to who we are electing in our local community. I mean, that's just as important as maybe more important than deciding who the hell is sitting in the president's seat.
Right.
You know? We have to care more, regardless. We just have to care more.
I believe it was is it Mike Delph?
Yeah, that's it. Senator Mike Delph. Indiana State Senator Mike Delph.
Okay.
Don't vote for him.
No.
If you live here.
Yeah, he opposes equality, so definitely don't vote for that guy. Well, speaking of equality, have an interesting little story here. There's recently a commercial from Honeygrams that depicts dads and just all different kinds of dads with their children's, and the whole slogan on it is about, what is it? It's wholesome or something like that.
Wholesome and...
This is wholesome is the slogan. But one of the couples that they show in there is...
Wholesome and family. They keep saying both.
It's a gay couple. It's a two dads with a kid that they depict in this commercial. And the commercial even alludes to, as the world changes, what... So anyway...
As the world changes, as family changes, because they also show a mixed race couple, and so on and so forth. As things change, so does the definition. I don't know. Did they say so does the definition of wholesome and family? I don't know. Maybe they.
Maybe it's something along those lines. But the American Family Association, because they showed this gay couple in the commercial, they got up in arms about it. I'll just go ahead and read what one of the what is her name? She some kind of
1 million moms.
Okay, well, 1 million moms, part of the American Family Associations. Whoever this spokesperson is, this is their comment on it. When I think of graham crackers, I think of the camping I may do this summer and the s'mores I might eat around the campfire. Apparently Nabisco and I have a fondness for different things now. Nabisco wants to change definitions like family and wholesome. And this is where she goes off the deep end. Satan wants us to see sin as normal and not so bad. He delights in taking what God made good and was meant to glorify God and change it, counterfeit it, making it to please Satan himself instead of the Creator God. The fallen one desires men to see themselves as gods, having to answer to no one but themselves. Once again, that matter-of-fact presentation of...
Yeah, and it wasn't necessarily a woman, it was the actual group that submitted this, and I think it was on their website. The group, it also says the group stated that Satan was twisting words like wholesome and family, and he had hijacked the rainbow symbol so that LGBT could use it.
So I guess, I don't know, I say Satan went ahead and gave Nabisco a call and said, "Hey guys, I'd like to make a commercial if we could. I'd like to depict as many evil things as possible, like interracial couples, and we gotta have a gay couple in there. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna direct this thing myself."
I love your Satan voice. It's not as deep as I expected it to be.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to rip off South Park too much.
Maybe you should go for your growler voice.
My growler voice?
Yeah, your metal.
Oh yeah, that might get a little loud and distorted. So anyway, yeah, Satan's behind this commercial, and I think he did a fine job. I thought that it was very well produced. I thought it was obviously under good direction. Satan's got a keen eye for these things. He's really tugging at the heartstrings here. Maybe he's not so bad of a guy. I don't know. He's always depicted as such an idiot. I mean, such an evil jerk. But I don't know. He seems
like a pretty wonderful guy.
Yeah, he's got a really heartfelt little message in there that we should understand and realize that there are all different kinds of families in the United States, and they're not all just two white people that go to church every Sunday.
Saying you're not such a bad guy after all.
It's like, I really want to tug on the heartstrings with this one, guys.
Well, I've run into recently what the reason Lucifer was thrown to hell, I guess, or whatever in the first place was because he was thinking too much. I mean, was that what it was?
Yeah, kind of. And I was always told as a kid that he wanted to be apart from God and make himself into his own God and those kind of. But
I guess regardless, it is what it is.
It is what it is. So I mean, Satan doesn't exist.
I'm a bigger fan of Nabisco.
So, yeah.
Nabisco. Is that how that goes?
Nabisco, something like that. But there was also, I think, do you remember the Barilla Pasta guy who said that his pasta wasn't for gay people?
Yeah.
So we know now that it's buy Nabisco, don't buy Barilla.
Man.
No, I don't really give a shit. I mean, I just don't. Companies probably, it would benefit them not to take a stance on these things.
Yeah.
I'm glad that Nabisco took the stance, but
I think that even falls because we just heard about Mozilla Firefox. The CEO of Mozilla Firefox says he's like, gay marriage is wrong.
Oh, okay.
And there's a dating site. I cannot think of what it is called off the top of my head right now, but the dating site made it so that if you went to their site through Mozilla Firefox, it would take you to this window that said, sorry, but we cannot allow traffic to go to our website through Mozilla Firefox because this guy is against something that we hold dearly, as many of the employees for our site are gay, lesbian, blah, blah, blah. God, I wish I could remember what it was called, but I commend them for standing up and doing this. But yeah, I thought that was very interesting.
I hadn't heard that about Firefox.
Mozilla Firefox.
Yeah.
It's interesting story. I actually visited the page and I saw what it said. It was, that's pretty funny.
That's cool. I'm just going to go ahead and drag this Mozilla Firefox icon into my recycle bin. I never use it anyway. I always use Google Chrome, but
I use Google Chrome more than anything, which is obviously. I mean, why would you say something like that? I mean, I guess if it's a firmly held belief, I mean, I guess I can understand, but these.
I don't know,
man. Maybe we should move on.
Sure. What do we have up next?
Everybody's favorite Texas lawman.
Oh, yeah, Ted Cruz. This kind of goes along with the, I mean, it's similar to Louis Gohmert's story a little bit. Only in this, we don't hear Ted Cruz try to revise history and try to deny that the separation of church and state is part of what made our country so great. He just goes ahead and decides that he's just going to shit on the whole thing and disrespect the separation of church and state throughout this entire thing. I believe we do actually have a clip that we can play that goes along with this.
And I apologize. I think my allergies are catching up to me, and my nose is just dripping all over the microphone.
Oh, dear.
So we'll play this little clip. It's actually about, what did we stopped at 2.5 minutes? Yeah, it's 2.5 minutes. So deal with it. It's fun. You'll probably puke a couple times, but yeah, it's all in good fun.
Oh, sure.
Oh,
my.
I started a little late, so is he going to let me do this?
In private practice, I was blessed to represent over 3 million veterans.
Oh, how
defending the constitutionality of the Mojave Desert
well,
Veterans
it's screwing
Memorial.
with us.
It doesn't even want to do it. What a joke.
There you go.
Is it going to work now? No.
Nope.
That just means I'm going to have to
refresh the window.
Yeah. So be it.
We thought we had it marked off at this nice little spot.
This happens. It's kind of live. I mean, it's pre-recorded. I could always go back and just say, "Oh, I never had a problem," but that wouldn't be true to myself. So,
yeah.
So we'll just let this, reload a little bit. It's taking its time. Yes. Of course, everybody remembers Ted Cruz because his dad. We've talked about his dad a couple times on the show.
Yeah. We haven't talked about him so much, but
I think he kind of keeps it hidden a little bit.
Yeah,
I think he's kind of afraid of letting too much of how he feels out. But this is a clip basically from Liberty. He visited Liberty University, which did you say Jerry Falwell?
Yeah, that's Jerry Falwell's creation.
Okay, so here we go. I think we have it now. Oh, it's gonna play
a stupid ad first, of course. So anyway,
I'm muting this.
This is a disaster.
It was like, get your shit together. We do what we can. I'm legitimately embarrassed right now.
Maybe you should edit this.
Okay, 26, 27.
And it's a 30-second ad, too. It's not just one you can skip.
Just as the song Pilgrim described, these are troubled times, and religious liberty, the very first liberty in the Bill of Rights, the very first protection we have, has never been more imperiled than it is right now. I've been blessed over the course of my career to have the opportunity to stand and defend religious liberty many, many times. When I was the Solicitor General of Texas, I was honored to defend the Ten Commandments monument that stands on the state capitol grounds. It's been there since 1961, until an individual plaintiff, an atheist, a homeless man, filed a lawsuit seeking to tear down that monument.
That was necessary, a homeless man.
Mm-hmm.
And I was honored to defend that monument. We went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. And in front of the U.S. Supreme Court, we defended the Ten Commandments on the very last day of the last
lost my train of thought.
Decision coming down from the court. By a vote of 5-4, the Supreme Court upheld the Ten Commandments monument.
Oh, so courageous. So courageous. The poor persecuted
Now, I'll tell you a story from the argument as we're sitting at the argument, getting ready for the argument to begin. It's about 9:58, right before the justices ascend the bench. The U.S. Solicitor General, Paul Clement, who was supporting the state of Texas, he leaned over to me and to the Attorney General, Greg Abbott, and he whispered in a loud voice, "I know how we're going to win. We figured out a way that we're going to win this case." So obviously the Attorney General and I were pretty interested to hear what this was, since we had 2 minutes till the argument started. And Paul said in a whisper, "We're going to argue that the Ten Commandments are international law."
Honor the Sabbath, huh?
And it worked. I was also honored to defend the Pledge of Allegiance. The words, "one nation under God," you'll remember in California when another atheist filed a lawsuit seeking to strike down the Pledge of Allegiance. And the federal court ordered the Pledge of Allegiance struck down. We went to the U.S. Supreme Court on behalf of all 50 states defending the words, "one nation under God." And we won unanimously.
Dick.
Yeah. So, I want to just real quick, the international law thing that they actually won this case on.
Right.
So tell me how these things are international law. The first few commandments here, especially. Thou shalt have no other gods before me.
Mm-hmm.
Is that international law?
How does that work?
Okay. Because I could swear that there are at least a couple of polytheistic religions still out there.
Hindu?
Yeah, and so, okay. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's international law. Mm-hmm. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. I haven't heard of anybody going to jail recently for saying God damn it. Yeah. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Mm-hmm. So I would assume that internationally, including in the United States, that all businesses are closed on Sundays. No commerce takes place. Nothing. Okay.
Oh, and we can't forget about the fact that, things are open on certain holidays because capitalism is so wonderful.
Right. There are 3 commandments that I see here that are international law, mm-hmm. that pretty much fly everywhere. And, well, there are some loopholes, of course. Thou shalt not kill. Mm-hmm. Well, this one doesn't even work. It's frowned upon. Thou shalt not commit adultery. I'm sure it is illegal in some of the Middle Eastern countries, but it's not illegal here. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Yeah, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to do that. That's right.
I am sure though that the adultery thing. Mm-hmm. I bet you there's a lot of politicians who'd like to make that illegal.
Probably. I would think so.
I mean, I bet all of these commandments. There's a lot of politicians who'd like to make this the way of the land. Mm-hmm. Period.
Then there's thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, neighbor's wife, his manservant, his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. That was my Reverend Lovejoy. But
that's what I love about this microphone. You can make. Okay, that's really gross.
Especially in reference to ass. So, okay, this Ted Cruz guy is obviously trying to set himself up on a platform of a Christian crusader. Yeah. He wants everybody to know that separation of church and state means nothing to him.
He's fighting us atheists.
Yeah. He is. He's taking atheists in front of this crowd of students at Liberty University. An atheist, a homeless man, another atheist. Like he's
Are all homeless people atheists?
I guess. I don't know. I thought I had a house. Maybe I don't.
They must be, because if they weren't,
what is this place that we sit with? I don't know. But anyway, what wouldn't you say that this is? He's villainizing atheists in this.
Oh yeah.
But to me, he's going about this like he's just so courageous, like he's just putting himself out there to fight for these poor, persecuted people. Mm-hmm. When did it become noble and noteworthy to fight for a majority opinion? And sure, yeah, it's okay to fight for a majority opinion, whatever, but don't make yourself out to be like this crusader. We're the minority here. Yeah, and you're villainizing people that are in a minority group and trying to make them further. Mm-hmm. He's trying to push us further back.
It's going right back into the we're being persecuted and I call bullshit.
You're not being persecuted. We've said this a million times, but this is a guy that we cannot allow to become president of the United States. I know it's a couple years away. I know he may not even be the nominee, but we can't let him become the nominee. We can't let him, especially if he becomes the nominee, we definitely cannot let him sit in the White House.
I can't do with another 4 more years with George Bush.
You know what? I think this guy's more extreme than Bush, though.
Well, you could be right. He's made a lot of enemies.
Uh-huh.
And obviously he has his friends, but he's made a lot of enemies.
Yeah.
And I think that if people like Bill Maher, Jon Stewart, Colbert, I think of these comedians, Louis or whoever, I think if these comedians have anything to do with it, Louis Black, there's no way in hell that this guy will get elected. At least I'm hoping.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm hoping that the rise of atheism, as it seems to be happening, more and more people are declaring. I don't know. Hopefully it works itself out. But I don't know. Why are we getting too political?
We don't usually get that political, I guess, but it doesn't hurt to throw it in there every once in a while. I just think that it's just been a week that lends to speaking about political matters, I guess. I don't understand. I think you're right, probably. I don't think that guys like Cruz are gonna. I don't think he has much of a chance, but I just don't want him to gain any kind of steam. And if he's trying to present himself as some kind of Christian crusader, and being a guy in a position of power, convince the world of, or the United States, whatever, that Christians are being persecuted here and that their religious freedom is under attack when it isn't. Just have to make sure guys like that don't get too far.
Yeah. If you want to see Christians persecuted, there's probably a few Middle Eastern countries that you can go check out for a little while.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't want to talk about him anymore.
No.
I can't stand the sight of him.
Should we? Is it time? Is it time for the right wing watch roulette?
Oh, it is.
I think we're there.
It is time.
All right, let's do this. This is a fun little club.
Yay.
I will be honest with you. I'm absolutely fine with a 15-year incarceration for the crime of adultery. It is a crime. It destroys people's lives. It destroys families. It breaks up civilizations. You want to lock them up for 15 years? I have zero problem with that whatsoever.
Yeah. These guys are all about reversion.
The gay
Stop it, you. I'm embarrassed.
You have a finicky little
Yeah, it's just damn playlists. Anyway, 15 years.
Yeah, 15 years for adultery. I know a lot of people who would be locked up.
15 whole years for adultery.
So that just seems to be the recurring theme. A regression, a reversion back to archaic times is what these theocrats would like to see. They're not going to get it. I really don't think they're going to get it. They deserve the ridicule that we give them in other publications and television shows and podcasts give them. They deserve every bit of the ridicule they get because they're bad for society. He says adultery is bad for society. I say his dumbass is bad for society.
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes I just get... I keep wondering to myself whether am I caring too much about it? I think that's what it comes down to. Am I worried way too much about it? As I sit there and I'm watching my Facebook feed and one more article, another article, from pages that I like because I have similar viewpoints, I see article after article pointing out the ridiculous side of Christianity.
Yeah.
I think that's what it comes down to. There's obviously a lot of Christians, a good majority of Christians who are wonderful people. I think what bothers me sometimes is knowing that we're getting these fringe assholes, and they're the ones that are making it into the news and making everybody else in the religion, look bad.
Yeah.
In which case, a lot of those people in the religion are frustrated themselves that this is happening, which I think comes down to, man, sometimes I think it's crazy, but these people who are saying these ridiculous things are probably following the Bible more true to what it should be followed than they are.
No, no question.
And I guess that's where that comes down to. I think people really need to reevaluate what it is that they look at.
Uh-huh. Well, yeah, you're probably right. I think they are a fringe. It is a fringe element of society, but I do know people personally who would agree with these kind of viewpoints. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean anything, I guess. I mean, it's still a fringe. I do think it's still a fringe viewpoint. That's pretty extreme. 15 years in prison for adultery. Like, I think we played that more for the comedy aspect of it because it's just stupid. But
I laughed harder the first time. I probably should have waited to watch it.
Yeah. But one thing that they have had some moderate success in is pissing around with education. and that's why I will not let up, especially in that area. I mean, they have had some moderate success in that area. Like in Indiana, our tax dollars are still going towards vouchers, for private schools, you know. So some of the money that I make goes towards some kid learning about creationism in certain settings. And that's not right. I don't like that. I don't want my money going toward that.
Yeah, I remember a comment that Neil deGrasse Tyson made in regards to a school teacher in New York, I think, who was talking about Noah's Ark having dinosaurs on it. And he had a comment that basically went along the lines of, our problem should not be worrying about whether creationism is being taught in schools so far as hiring the people who are teaching it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was his general point.
That's good point.
And and going back to the first article we were talking about, creationists feeling like Tyson is on a mission, if you will. This last part of this article said his comments may have been a bit out of character for the celebrated astrophysicist. In an interview with Huffington Post in March, he said he typically doesn't make it his business to correct people's scientific misconceptions. This is his quote, "As an educator, I try to get people to be fundamentally curious and to question ideas that they may have or that are shared by others." In that state of mind, they have learned a kind of inoculation against the fuzzy thinking of these weird ideas floating around out there. So rather than correct the weird ideas, I would rather them to know how to think in the first place. Then they can correct the weird ideas themselves. I don't just tell them no. That's pontifical.
Mm-hmm.
I like the way he thinks. He's an educator, and that's what's great about it. The idea that creationism is being taught with our tax dollars is really frustrating, and it's happening in our own state. It's happening in Louisiana.
I read an article. There are 14 states that have the voucher thing going on.
Oh my god!
So
I don't know how widespread it is in those 14 states, but it's happening.
Yeah, it's happening. And I just the other thing that's frustrating is it's a problem that's in developed industrial nations. It's unique to the United States.
Yeah, that is. In fact, that's part of the argument that I have with my brother-in-law. Why is it that our country? Because I was talking about the most peaceful countries, and there's been a few studies out. I don't remember what the actual university was, but they did a study, and they correlated the differences between those who are violent countries who go to war and those who are the most atheistic. And there are a number of countries who you have some of your Western European countries, Norway, Sweden, these countries. Then you have Canada. Then you go over, you have Japan,
Australia, New Zealand,
and there's others. And these are countries that are not very theistic. they're very untheistic, non-theistic, and the argument, I guess, is who would want to live in these places, especially when it referred to places that have been tattered by war and whatnot. And my idea was, I don't think it's that the people want. That's not the argument. The argument is that they're not going to war. These are people who, they're not trying to spread their religion, if you want to go that direction, I guess. But I don't know. What is it about our country? Because all those other countries are very developed. They're first world countries, and we are among the most powerful, if not the most powerful. And we're just, I don't get it. I think sometimes when you think about what Neil said about one of his videos is the naming rights thing. When you think about the Arabian world and how scientifically advanced it was before Islam took hold, the fundamentalists took hold. Because you have all these elements and stars and math, all these things are Arabic. That's where a lot of the stuff originated from.
Right.
And then you had the extremists take over, the fundamentalists.
Yeah.
And then it stopped. There's nobody there there's very few Nobel Peace Prize winners. And then you have the United States. I'm scared to say it, but sometimes I wonder whether or not we're going that direction.
I hope not. But you have to be careful of it. Yeah, you're right. Now, I mean, when those scientific advancements and advancements in mathematics were taking place in the Arabic world, the Islam was already there, but it was a more moderate form of it. There's the whole the Sunnis, the Shiites. Like the Sunnis are the more moderate of them, and that was kind of more of the majority opinion. And it still is. Sunni is the majority opinion, the majority version of Islam that's practiced across the world. But we hear of the Shiite type, those that believe that they have to be martyrs for their religion, and they have to, those are the ones that are causing the big stir, and those are the ones that are basically running those countries into the ground with their theocratic oppressive governments.
I am not as familiar with that. I'll have to read up on that a little bit on my own.
Okay.
I can't comment on that.
All right. So anyway, yeah.
I think it's about that time. Yes.
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 Yes. Hey, you know what I think we should do sometime, though?
What should we do?
Obviously, after we have this guest, we should, rather than go after all of these current events, I think you've brought this up before, pick a topic and just kind of go off on it for the whole show.
We can do this.
See how that works. We're still learning, guys. We're still...
And guess what's coming up?
What's that?
Easter.
Oh, yeah. We do have something possibly in the works with a friend of ours on that, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Easter is coming up, and you know what I would really love? A recreation of your Easter story.
Oh man, I'll have to dig deep into the treasure trove for that one, because that's been a while.
I'll be honest, that was one of those experiences that I had at one of your wonderful parties, where I seriously wondered, when you were going. I know that you were a little inebriated.
I was.
A little, just a tiny.
Maybe a little.
Tiny little bit. But it was one of those deals where I'm watching you tell this Easter story, and I'm like, holy shit, this guy, there's no way this guy is a theist.
Yeah.
And that was about 10 years ago, man.
Yeah.
You realize that?
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Basically, I used to get really drunk, and if the party that we were having was around the time of Easter, I would strip down to my boxer shorts, pull them basically up to my nipples. And then I would take a trash can lid that, if you flipped it upside down, the lid of it looked like I had bunny ears.
Yeah.
I would tell the whole gruesome story of Jesus' crucifixion. And every once in a while I'd interject with, And then the Easter Bunny comes and brings us candy.
Candy.
And then we'd hop around and say, candy for you. Hey, guys, it's the Easter Bunny.
I still remember that was when we came up with that dance that we did. Everybody was like, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Holy shit.
Oh, shit. Now we're inside joke shit going on here now.
Yeah. I don't know if this is going to be funny to everybody else, but it's funny to us.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
I pulled that one out.
Oh, watch out, kids. Here comes the Easter Bunny. Watch out for that blood of Christ dripping down on you. Don't mind him. I've got candy.
Maybe. I would. Man.
We might have to do like an animated short of something like this.
Oh, goodness. I do think that maybe it'd be really good if we could somehow invite the others of our friends who were there on Google Hangouts and we could all do it together.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I think I think Greg was involved in that.
Yeah, Greg was in. No, he wasn't. Greg didn't go this time.
Oh, all right, fine. And I was just shut down.
I'm sorry. He did.
You know what? Hey, we have, because Easter is coming up, I think it would actually be kind of fun if people would email us and tell us their own experiences with Easter and having to deal with it, or how you celebrate Easter being a non-believer. I think that'd be kind of interesting, to hear the pagan rituals, or, what is it about Easter that you like, or how you've had to deal with explaining what Easter is really about to your Christian relatives.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, that'd be
I'd love
cool.
to hear some emails about that.
I tell you how I celebrate Easter. I don't. Oh, okay. I mean,
I get together with my family. We cook out and eat burgers and stuff.
If my family has a dinner, I'll go to that. But I'm there for the food.
The funny thing is every time we celebrate a holiday like Easter or Christmas, it's not. We don't even. My family doesn't really even celebrate it, the religious version. It's the pagan version.
Right.
We have fun. We search for eggs.
Oh,
and how the fuck does a bunny have anything to do with Jesus? A bunny and eggs.
Well, the bunny doesn't have anything to do with Jesus. The bunny has to do with the pagan origins of that religion.
Exactly, fertility. But we'll get to that then.
Yeah.
So anyway, please send us your emails at beinghumanist.podcast@gmail.com. Contact us on facebook.com/beinghumanist.podcast. Get to us on Twitter, beinghumanistpc. Leave us a comment on YouTube if you want to. We have those open. Occasionally people say nasty things to us. It doesn't happen very often. There's a few there in the beginning.
Yeah.
But youtube.com/beinghumanistpodcast. As always, there's no dot between the humanist and podcast. So lend us your stories.
Yes, please.
So we have something to read other than our own damn stories, because I'm sure we get boring. We want to hear your stories.
Yeah.
Next week, again, we'll have my buddy hopefully on the show. We'll talk about cosmos some more, and he'll give us his perspective, and maybe we can convert him to atheism. That's our goal. Just remember that. I'm not going to mention your name right now because I don't know if I'm allowed to, but I'm going to do this.
Ugh. This, I mean, it's, for me, it's the goal is just to make them think.
Yeah, it's the whole keep thinking thing.
If atheism comes out of that, wonderful. If not, whatever. As long as you're using your brain.
Yes. And I will keep you up to date on my conversation with my brother-in-law.
Oh, yes.
We'll make sure that everybody's aware of my personal life to an extent.
All right.
So, you have selected a piece to outro on.
I have, and this will be a great lead into the next show.
Great lead into the next show. I haven't even listened to it yet, so this is the first for me.
Well, this is just, So I'm not going to say what it is. It's just a good lead into the next show.
So, As always, we are Being Humanist. I'm Mike.
And I am Keith.
And talk to us. Keep thinking.
Keep thinking.
Stay beautiful.
Yeah. Stay beautiful.
There's a part of me that said, send us your pictures, but I don't know if we need to go there.
That's getting a little creepy.
Okay. Being Humanist. I'm Mike. He's Keith. And we're out. Enjoy this wonderful, beautiful, our hero.
Clipperooski.
Later.
Our civilization is built on the innovations of scientists and technologists and engineers who have shaped everything that we so take for granted today. So some of the science deniers or science haters, these are people who are telling that to you while they're on their mobile phone. They're saying, I don't like science. Science is bad. GPS just told us to go left. Yeah, okay. So I don't, so it's time for people to sort of sit back and reassess what role science has actually played in our lives and note and learn how to embrace that going forward, because without it, we will just regress back into the cave.
Cosmos seems like an example of using television, using the media for good when it comes to science. I talked recently on this program about climate change and how there aren't two equal sides when it comes to climate change, and yet sometimes the television and the media pretends it is that way. What responsibility do you think members of the media have to portray science correctly?
Yeah, I think the media has to sort of come out of this ethos that I think was in principle a good one, but it doesn't really apply in science. The ethos was whatever story you give, you have to give the opposing view, and then you could be viewed as balanced. In the clip that you showed of the president, you don't talk about the spherical Earth with NASA in it and then say, oh, now let's give equal time to the flat earthers. Plus, science is not there for you to cherry pick. You know, I said this once, and it's gotten a lot of internet play. I said the good thing about science is that it's true whether or not you believe in it. All right? I guess you can decide whether to not believe in it, but that doesn't change the reality of an emergent scientific truth.